Welcome to another episode of the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. I'm your host, founder, and executive director of Voices for Voices, Justin Allen Hayes. Thank you so much for joining us today. Whether you've been with us from the beginning or you've caught all our episodes, volunteering, if you've donated, we very much appreciate it. Thank you for your love and support. We are marching towards that 300 number of our total show catalog by the end of 2025. And that's very exciting. And we have, before then, we have a lot of exciting uh, information that I think you'll like coming from Voices for Voices. Uh, and so from there, we jump into our episode today. Past and returning guest, David Solomon. We are on this particular episode going to be talking about the human trafficker, the individual that goes by Bryan Davis, Bryan Davis, and has been skirting not only the law, but has been going scot-free from town to town, city to city, convention to convention, uh, with books, with content that we might view as uh, not good. So we're going to look at this from a good, not good. And let's give a brief example. Robbing a bank, not good. Sitting down with your child, drawing, coloring, that's good. And so that's how we're going to look at this particular conversation with David. So, David, welcome again to the show. It's always a blessing to have you with us, impart your experience and uh, your uh, your care for not only your family but families and children all across the world. So we'll let you take it from here. Thanks for joining us, David.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me. You know, um, I really prayed about uh, how to handle today, and it's very heavy on my heart this episode. So this gonna be a heavy one. Um, so here it goes. So I'm putting aside like my bad blood with this author. And if you're listening, I'm a survivor of human trafficking. This author had had something to do with that, and you know has openly talking to kids about sex and rape and cutting, and we're really trying to spread the word on that. And I want to go back to what brought me here. I was 11 years old when I met Mr. Bryan Davis, and it was something. He was this great author doing the Bible and dragons, and he was mixing mythology with the Bible and modern day. It was really cool. It was unheard of. There were only like a few writers at the time in Christian fantasy: Ted Decker, Frank Peretti, Jerry Jenkins, Kathy Tyler's, you know, and it was it was really cool to see that. And um when I read Dragons in Our Midst, it touched me. Um, it actually brought me closer to my faith. At one point, um, I was going to take my own life because of a very bad circumstance that happened. And it saved me. And that's when I really knew if one man could be used by God to create something that astonishing, I wanted to do that to to make a difference in someone's life. And so that made me want to write stories of faith. And I'm crying about it. Today's been an emotional day anyway, because that was the moment when I knew that that was my calling. And so I watched that book save someone else's life that I met, and I passed it around my church at the time, and I saw when they read the book, it made a difference in their life, and so I saw the good, and that's what's so hard about this is I saw the good. You know, Tony, 15, he was doing drugs, and he read the book and he confessed that he did drugs, and he turned his life around. And so my heart breaks for the next part of this, and it's not easy, but it was because of that um, trust that I put in that author that uh, that he and I had private conversations and became somewhat of a father figure to all of us, kids that turned our lives around. And there's no denying that. But somewhere along the road, he stopped writing those books and he started writing other books. And he became someone else. I think, you know, ghostwriting for him was an honor and a privilege because that book saved my life. So why would I refuse, right? Even though I was a minor, and my mom was she was happy that it saved my life, but she was cautious because he was private messaging me every day, and masturbation came up in topics, and there were some red flags with my mom when she saw that. So anyway, um, I made the mistake of trusting him in a very sensitive time. My mom was diagnosed with stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. It's a blood cancer and it's terminal. She was given 3 months to live. And we had some bad blood and bad fallout, but I ghost wrote for him, and he was cool. He was the only father I knew, right? And so I told him I needed prayer, and he asked where I was living, and I said Oregon City, and that was that. Um, about 3 weeks later, uh, apparently he had sent some friends of his to meet my mom, and uh, I was taken from that point. And so that's what's so hard is like so much good happened from this man, and then so much bad. 12 years of bad, because that's how I was trafficked, right? Um, and that's why we're here today. This man has continued to make bad choices, and um, I'm not here to put Mr. Bryan Davis down. I'm here to bring awareness for others to make that decision as to if it is safe for their children to be around him, message him, or read his books. Bryan, I'm going to be very careful how I say this because I really prayed about this moment, has a new book called Sacred Scales coming out in a few days, June 3rd. I read the uh, I read why he wrote it. And Bryan at the time was reaching out to my 8-year-old. He was trying to get a hold of him through different means. He was angry. He reached my stepfather. He reached all my other friends. He emailed them. He threatened. Because at that time I had come out as a victim of human trafficking because of him. And he was angry. And so I was a little shocked and perplexed that the new book is for the age of 8 and 9, and my son is that age. And I was a little bit concerned about that. What are the chances? So I started to read the synopsis, and then I talked to some people that are around him at some conferences and kind of got a little feel for why he's doing this. And it's a personal vendetta. My name's been dropped several times, and I haven't even mentioned him in my circles. So the story is to rewrite the book that brought me to God, which is called Dragons in Our Midst, Raising Dragons and Candlestones. Not to say that it won't cross over into his other series, Eye of the Oracle or Children of the Bard, but you know, it's kind of unique that he's rewriting what God used to bring kids to God, and now he's rewriting it. And so it just breaks my heart that we're here. This godly man who I looked up to, who all kids looked up to at my church, by the way, has done this. Went on a show for 2 hours and called me a liar, called me Cody, my wife a whore, yeah, just horrible things. And it just breaks my heart. It really does. And so I ask for parents to look at this new book, Sacred Scales, and determine if it's right because it's rewriting the Bible, number one, and it's justifying that he will, unfortunately, sorry, unfortunately, um, have opportunity more so to talk to your 8-year-old and 9-year-old on roadblocks, on Facebook, on whatever he wants. And that's just, there are no words. So it broke me when Bryan said the things he did about me. And it broke me when I turned him in for trafficking me. And it broke me because I felt I did something wrong. And I wanted that message to be very clear, because going forward, I'm not going to attack Bryan now. I've moved on. My family's, in a better place, and we're doing our own thing on Mythical. But I can't just be silent and let another kid go through what I went through either. And that's not right. My question is, how can someone that loves God so much hurt God's children? Man, I was 11 when I learned what masturbation was. I didn't think it was, you know, I thought he was just doing God's work because he had some cool books that touched kids and brought them close to God. And to think that he could message my 9-year old and talk about that. And so this man continues with these horrible acts. And he'll have the opportunity to do that more than before with this new series. I don't know what happened to him. When I met him, he was a man of God, but when I met him again in 2011, he was not. I don't know what changed, but I pray for him every day that God will change his heart. And that is the hardest thing that you can do for someone that has taken everything from you. You know, it's hard to accept that someone just wants to keep going and doesn't want to make it right. I've never cried um, on an interview because I hold my emotions. I hold them. It's true. I'm a private person. I'm very emotional. I'm my mom's son, but this just breaks my heart. And to see this man, after all these years, all the horrible things he said about me, oh, I bawled my eyes out. But I'm just one person. Think of all the horrible things he'll say about you or your kids. And this is a person that your kids are going to talk to. You're not going to get to have the sex talk with him because he's going to beat you to it. How does that make you feel? You know, as kids, we're so naive, and he just takes advantage of that and rips it apart. And police won't do a darn thing. And pardon me, but why? You talk to kids about sex, and you talk to them about cutting, and you private message them behind parents' backs, and then you backslide and say, well, I had parents' permission to do that. No, you didn't. You said that 15 years ago. If you had permission, then why did you talk to me about what masturbation was? Because I didn't know what that was until I talked to you. I was 11. You know, he taught me that if I looked at a girl, it was a sin because it's called lust. He taught me that you have to wait until God brings the woman into your life, and you have to pray at church, and you can't talk to other girls, and you can't flirt, and that's a sin, and that's a sin, and that's a sin. He taught me not to listen to my pastor, but to listen to him, because the Bible says, go and sin no more. So follow him because he's sinless, and you can live a sinless life, and you can be better than other people and live in prosperity, and you can become a god. And I was stupid enough that at one point when my mom called me out, I would wear the suit and tie and I would say, Mom, I can't talk to you right now. I'm talking to Bryan and I'm being sinless, and you're being sinful because you're cussing at me, and I can't have any part in it. I'm holier than you. I listened to my mouth. Looking back at that now. And that's why he's writing this series, is to push this theology. I'm not here to discriminate. I'm not here to tell you not to buy his books. I'm not even here to say he's a bad person, because no one listens to that. I'm here to say, man, if this kid, excuse me, if this guy did this to me as a kid, my best friend and other people, what's to say he's not going to do it now again with this new book that he's targeting 9-year olds with and 8-year olds? And that just breaks my heart.
Yeah, and I think to add on to that, it doesn't stop there. For you being uh, a survivor of human trafficking, uh, Bryan doesn't just stop there. He reaches his tentacles into lives more since you made it home, you made it out. He reaches out to anyone and everyone. He reaches out to banks. He reaches out to lawyers, to doctors, to you name it, to which we're stuck trying to do the basic things in life because this individual can't just let it go like you are. And I think that's another thing that parents and children need to think about, because if you get mixed up, I mean, we hate to say like we warned you, but we did. We've had many episodes on this. And so if you're a convention event planner, uh, if you're a church pastor, uh, and this individual who by all means may look and seem like a normal person, we're here to say that that's not true. And so by you having this individual as a speaker at your homeschool conference, at your church, uh, on your shows, on media appearances, you're just as guilty because you're bringing somebody that, again, we have warned over and over and over again. And not only does this individual reach out to doctors and people to make lives miserable, uh, reaches out to, again, banks, does paperwork, changes social security numbers. So there's certain things you're not able to do, not able to open a bank account, not able to buy a house. And then he also reaches out to individuals that are close to continue to reach those tentacles into survivors' lives by offering money, 3 million, 2 million, 1 million, big money to individuals to basically out a survivor. And that's not just smoke that we're talking about. These are real life, real things that happen. And so just imagine being in that mindset and in that position where you need to go to the doctor, or a family member needs to go to the doctor, needs to be seen. You go, you have a visit, and then you get a text shortly after. It says, "Oh, sorry, we can't continue having you as a patient. Here's a number where you can find a different provider on there." And then you go to that provider and then you get the same treatment. It's like, "Oh, sorry." And so that's the hard part, is being a survivor. And we've talked many times, David and I and others, about, there's resources. People say, well, there's resources for survivors. There's resources. Really? Where are they at? And they say, oh, we'll reach out to law enforcement. Well, we know law enforcement, just like any profession, there's good people and there's bad people. To go back to the beginning, we talked about, there's people that are good and there's people that are not good. People to make good decisions, people to make bad decisions. And we all make bad decisions, but our good decisions outweigh the bad. And for individuals like this, to have those tentacles then reach into law enforcement, that when things are reported, again, the banks, the attorneys, the medical family members, everybody in that circle is being reached out to and offered money, and who knows what else. And so that's the other thing to think about, parents and families, and again, homeschool convention, any convention that thinks about, having this individual even just come to the conference, let alone having them as a speaker, a keynote speaker, allowing this individual to sell their merchandise, their books. There's one God who is sinless. And so for anybody on earth, David, me, anybody, to say that we're sinless and you need to follow me and follow us, that is just hogwash. And we know it and you know it. And so let's wake up, people. Let's wake up. Let's support not only ourselves and love on ourselves, but let's love on our family, our children. Let's be involved in their lives, who they're talking to. And you hear that saying, walks like a duck, talks like a duck, it's a duck. And so if somebody's reaching out to your child, personal messages, again, a grown man, 60 plus years old, is reaching out to your 8-year-old, 9-year-old, which, as David mentioned, that's what this new book coming out June 3rd that we're warning you about. You need to think about it. We can only do so much, but as a society, we've slipped so much, and good people not stepping up to the plate, good law enforcement. President Trump, we know that you're doing a great job. Kash Patel at the FBI, Dan Bongino, Deputy Director of the FBI, Pam Bondi, Christy Nolan, Tom Homan. We know you're doing a great job. You're doing a lot of things. but please, we've talked about this, and we're gonna continue to talk about it because it's so important, and it's literally a life and death decision, right? So if somebody reaches out to your doctor and you're no longer able to see them, and let's say there's a reason you need to see them, and if if there's certain medication or protocol that's not followed, uh, then that could have deadly consequences. And then if you talk about, an unborn child, adding that to the equation, if somebody out there is in that situation. And so we're passionate about, that's why we're talking about this. That's why we talk about it so much of 2025. This is a hot topic. We talk about, you hear, the big terms, the Diddy trial and Epstein and all this. Well, there should be the Bryan Allen Davis trials, and the same thing, where survivors should feel welcome to come and share their story and not to be judged. And uh, we're we're running out of time, David. So I'm just going to wrap up what we were discussing for the
It's
end.
all good. It's all good.
Yeah, I just had to had had to jump in and share that for our viewers and our listeners. But mythical creatures around the world, you've probably noticed, and if you haven't, you've been under a rock. So move that rock over. Check out mythical creatures around the world. A lot of great uh, content has already been shared. So follow, like, share, subscribe, comment. We value all those things. And again, look out. In the future, there's going to be great things coming from mythical creatures around the world. David Solomon, and so we just want to thank you for joining us on this episode, and thank David for being such a strong voice and a strong survivor. And until next time, we hope that